Team White beats Team Blue 27-0 in the 2024 Blue-White game. Sean Fitz and Nate Bauer, I'm Greg Pickle. Spring practice is over, Sean. I'll give you the first take here of what we saw at Beaver Stadium. You can take it wherever you like.
Well, we saw a lot of wind, and you're probably picking it up on the mic right now. It is blustery. I don't know how much the broadcast brought that across, but it is very windy. Definitely had an impact on the passing game today. We didn't expect to see much from the new offense of Andy Nittany, but we still saw a little bit of explosions, some chunk plays. There's a nice game by Trey Wallace. There were things that you could pick up that you could see some progress. Still plenty of questions, though, for this offense going into the offseason. James Franklin kind of hammered it home afterward that they need to fix some things in the passing game. Yep. Might be personnel, might be some other stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do that, because there's a good bit of talent on that defense, and once again, you probably expect them to carry the load for Penn State.
Nate, I know how much you like talking about receivers, so why don't we just get your initial reaction to that position group today?
Receiver, I like quarterbacks too.
Start with the receiver, and then we'll go to quarterback.
Okay. Well, so here's my take. It's hot. The weather, right? The conditions created the perfect purgatory for the next 4 months. Right? We're never going to get out of this, because in an otherwise ideal condition, you would have been able to say, oh, they took strides, or they didn't take strides collectively, right? The offensive implementation, the quarterbacks, the receivers, right? All of that working together. But now, instead of that, we're going to be left with Drew Aller completing 50% of his passes and saying, well, how much of that 50% that weren't completions was impacted by the wind, right? How much of that was the receiver's fault, right? I mean, mostly overall, though, you're just going to say, well, it's just really stupidly windy out here, and so you can't really take anything from this.
I would agree with you, Sean. Flipping over to the defense, I know you had your eye on Abdul Carter throughout this game. Your initial reaction to his first game, there's the wind, at defensive end.
That was perfect, by the way. All the defensive ends, really, and you expect them to tee off on inexperienced as offensive tackles. Anthony Donka didn't play today with an injury, so Nolan Rucci was in there. But again, it's just not fair for some of those guys. Abdul Carter off the snap, he shows why he's got that explosion and why people consider him to be a draft prospect after moving to defensive end from linebacker. So Amin Vanover, Jameel Lyons, Denai Dennis Sutton, all kind of had their way as expected. So I don't know that there's a ton you can take away from it other than Abdul looks really good off that snap. I mean, there's elements of Chop Robinson to his game, and Penn State's going to need that, as they get into that prime pass rushing territory against the better teams on their schedule.
Yeah, you mentioned Anthony Donko not available today. Drew Shelton not available this spring. We have a list of guys who were not available today over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. But Nate, unless you want to keep standing in this wind, I guess we'll just roll along to final thoughts. You take it wherever you like. James Franklin, the Blue-White game here today. Where do you want to wrap up, and then Sean will take us home?
I want to talk about KeAndre because I have to.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, we probably should have started there, but why? We wanted you to stick around. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to this video. Thank you.
I am. This is me. I am not putting words into anybody's mouth. But when asked about KeAndre, James said...
Well, he didn't have any words in his mouth, so...
He said, I'm happy to talk about the players that were out on the field today or are in the locker room. Which to me, again, just me reading between the lines here, says that this relationship is over. It's done. There's no coming back. Even I think if that sliver of a window for KeAndre to have a change of heart, I think it was a fairly clear indication that they're moving on without him, and specifically Trey Wallace is now kind of that guy, right? He's a guy who showed out today in some respects, but also is a guy that they are desperately going to count on to be an alpha, to be a dog this season.
Sean, you don't have to go that route, but as Nate mentions, the transfer portal opens Tuesday. James Franklin gave a little bit of his thoughts on that, but just generally final thoughts from this day, spring, and the fun's not over. Portal opens on Tuesday.
There's very little that you can take away from this game, but I did come away with one of the additions from the transfer portal in the winter. Cornerback A.J. Harris looked really good. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself after a scrimmage like this, but that guy looked like he can hang on Penn State's defense, which is a pretty good compliment in itself. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of the special teams today. Ryan Barker was out there for the most part as the kicker. I thought that was interesting with Sanders Sahadak on the roster. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks as that portal opens up next week. Not only do players have the opportunity to look for greener pastures, if you will. Penn State's going to be active. Whether that means they bring many guys in, I don't know, but they're going to be looking because you always want to patch up that roster and see what you've got to work with heading into the summer and into the fall.
Follow it all with us, BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for the latest on the Nittany Lions as the spring practice season ends and the transfer portal opens.